I used to ride my BMX. I used to collect G.I. Joes and Matchbox cars. I got some dolls as presents, but they never lasted very long. Not your usual girls' toys. I didn't really know too much about bikes, just from seeing stuff on TV, watching races, reading magazines, collecting pamphlets. I didn't know anyone that rode. Bikes weren't really a part of my life. They weren't a part of my family's life. I never really had anyone that influenced me into bikes. I was just drawn to them, and I just hoped that one day I'd have not only my own bike, but just a garage full of bikes. I wanted tools and just bikes and bike parts and the smell of the garage. I just wanted that all to myself. I remember the first time I really saw my first real bike and just fell in love. My mum took me down to the RTA, parked in the car park, and I was sitting in the back seat. And she went to hop out of the car and said, "Come on." At the same time, I remember looking out the window and there was this Triumph pulled up next to our car. I said, "It's okay, I'll wait here." So I sat in the car and just stared at this bike for about 15 minutes. Just amazed. I felt jealous, I guess, when he rode up. He was on his own on this amazing machine. I wanted to be like that. I wanted to have that sound under me and be able to ride alone and do whatever I wanted. I just wanted to feel that straight away. After seeing that Triumph, I got really into collecting pamphlets, visiting bike shops. I remember there was a motorbike shop fairly close to my house, and I used to walk down there quite often actually, just on my own, and sit in there, see what new catalogues they had. And I started really getting into collecting anything to do with motorbikes, whatever I could to see that again. So I'd watch motorbike races on the TV, and I remember my dad would sit there and watch them with me, and I'd go, "Look, Dad, that's me," doing a wheelie across the finish line or something cheesy like that. And the next shot would be, someone doing a big gravel slide or coming off in the sand, and Dad would be like, no, that's you there. When Dad would say stuff like that, it kind of upset me a bit, because I knew that, well, as far as I knew, girls just didn't ride. It wasn't the done thing. I felt like I'd never have the chance to ride a bike. I was more determined to do it after that. I guess I wanted to prove to my dad that I could do it and girls could do it. So my first bike, I remember being 14. A boy at school came to me one day and said, "I'm selling my motorbike." I was like, "How much do you want for it?" And he said he wanted $250. Just so happened I had $250 at the time. I knew I would get in so much trouble, but I met him after school and he rode his bike to my house, gave him $250, and then went, "Oh, by the way, how do I ride it?" He said, "Let go of the clutch and roll the throttle." That was as far as my training went. Needless to say, I went through 2 paling fences and ended up in the side of my neighbour's house. I remember getting home from school one day and my dad had cut the spark plug cable, thinking that would stop me because he'd heard that I was riding the streets. So I got some sticky taped it back together and kept riding. So they weren't happy, but it was worth it. I loved it. It made me so happy. In high school, I actually went to a private school, so I wasn't the normal, good girl with the braids and, the scholarly type. I was far from it. I got expelled from school. Well, not officially. I kind of fell for the headmaster's stepdaughter, which caused a problem, as you can imagine. As soon as that happened, I was politely told that they would like me to leave. So on that note, I left. During that time, I guess, of those 3 months, I got my L's for my bike, which I was so keen to do as soon as I left school. And I remember I bought a Kawasaki LTD 250. I thought it was super cool. After I left and I moved to Sydney, I knew that I needed to get a house and I needed to get a job to get a house. So I pretty much hit the streets as soon as I got there. Had a job within 3 days. Rented a house, and I got an opportunity to open my own cafe and owned that for 3 years. Loved every minute of it, but had to get out at the same time. So ended up moving to Melbourne and did youth work and alcohol and drug counselling, which was pretty cool. Throughout that whole time, I sort of had bikes on and off. I probably had about 10 different bikes over that time. And then after living in Melbourne, ended up getting a job back on the coast again, which I was a bit hesitant about moving back, but I did it anyway, and it's just turned out to be an amazing thing. When I moved back to the coast, I was working in a young women's refuge, and I guess that opened my eyes a lot and made me start to reflect on my life as a young person and seeing the lives that they lived and the experiences that they had and the parents that they had made me realise how amazing mine were, that they'd never really been against me. They'd been for me. It was my ideas thinking that they were against me. They were still on my side, and I guess working with those girls made me realise that, and made me realise that no matter what I do in my life, that I will be supported and I will be loved at the end of the day. So the bike I've got now, it was actually purely by accident. I wasn't even looking to buy another bike. I was looking for my partner's sister. She wanted to get a scooter, so I went into a bike shop to have a look for her and saw this bike. It's a 2012 brand new bike sitting there with flipped handlebars, and I was like, that is cool. It just reminded me of old classic style bikes that I've always loved, but it was brand new, which was a bonus for me. Fuel injected, electric start, and it was a 250, and I thought, okay, I'll take it for a test ride and I'll hate it because it's a 250, which would be great, and then I won't want it. But I took it for a test ride and bought it 2 days later. I've only done a few sort of performance mods. One of the first things I did was I went and saw Dennis Ferran of Ferran Exhaust and got a custom pipe put on it, which just makes me so happy. It's still one of my favourites. I did that and got a bigger front sprocket. It was a bit like a tractor when I first got it, so that's made it ride a whole lot better. I made the seat myself, just a timber seat pan with a stainless steel base, and got a friend to upholster that. I've got Clubmans on it, new grips, new indicators, fork gaiters, 2 sizes up on the tyres, got the rear shocks and wheels powder coated, which I love, and just some rubber knee pads and custom stickers, and I love how it's turned out. The TU to ride is so much fun actually. It's just light, it's easy, it starts every time, which is exactly what I wanted, and every time I hear it, every time I start it, whenever I ride it, it just makes me so happy. It doesn't sound like a 250, it sounds pretty awesome. But a lot of riders that I'll talk to about it, they go, oh, okay, so what's the next one, you know, what are you going to upgrade to? And I just say nothing. Like, I love my TU, and I hope I keep it forever, because it's just awesome for around town and, you know, doing what I need to do. It's light, it's easy, and I don't need to upgrade, and I'm not going to. So I realised I needed a change in my career. Working in the Young Women's Refuge, I was just lying awake at night, just worrying about them. I just couldn't keep that distance. I was too emotional, so I had to just break free of that. So I realised, I guess at that time, that all the parts of my life that have just been amazing have had bikes in it. And I guess once I made that connection, I realised that I wanted a job that revolved around bikes every day. And that's when I decided to apply to become a postie, and now I get to deliver mail on a motorbike every day. I love my job. Being around bikes every day is just awesome, and the people that I work with are amazing. There's a conversation about bikes or bike magazines or, photos, anything. We go to bike shows together, we go on rides together, and going to work every day makes me happy, which I think that's probably the first time in my life I can say that, but my job is awesome. A job isn't the safest job in the world. Really got to stay alert, and I think starting my job as a postie really has developed my skills as a rider. I just love the challenge. I just love getting the job done, I guess, as efficiently as you can. I love meeting people. Everyone loves the postie, and I love that. When I first started, I was like, wow, everyone's just so friendly. That's one thing I do really enjoy, is interacting with the customers, and it's just fun. I love it, being outside, being in the sunshine and riding a bike all day. It's a pretty good job. From seeing that Triumph when I was 7 and wanting to be that cool guy on that bike and wanting the dream of the garage full of bikes. Now I've got an amazing family, girlfriend that rides, job that I get to ride every day, and the garage full of bikes. My life now is pretty cool. It's more than just that dream.